G'day, welcome guys. Just here to do my session. My name's Jeff O'Connor. I work for Actifio locally in ANZ as a solutions architect. So today I'm going to talk to you about, I guess, the next wave of virtualization that maybe you were aware that's happening underneath the covers, or maybe you weren't. Effectively, many years back, we virtualized the compute stack, and most of us as infrastructure guys spent a lot of time working with VMware technologies, and potentially some of our customers are looking at things like Hyper-V and OpenStack that are quite common. Also, what we're seeing in the marketplace is the maturity of the network virtualization, with certainly the hard work that Nicira has done originally with VMware acquiring them. But really the next bastion, I guess, of where the enterprise is moving is to decouple the data and the applications from infrastructure. So making it be able to be virtualized so that you can get access to data at will in a portable state, not just your VMs, but right down to file folder and database type levels. So really that's where the Actifio product focuses. We kind of invented this market called copy data virtualization, and it's picking up a load of steam, because effectively it helps in terms of a couple of use cases, which I'll cover now. Effectively, we're working with clients on building higher quality applications faster, effectively accelerating their application lifecycle, dev test environments, and I'll focus on that a little bit further through the presentation. But the other two use cases that we predominantly focus on is talking about customers and increasing their business resiliency with best-in-class data protection products with features such as instant mount or instant recovery to your production hosts. So the last use case that we're commonly used with is enabling the enterprise hybrid cloud. That's a big banner, I guess, of a lot of things underneath it. But effectively, the way I would summarize it is in portability of virtual machines and data assets, such as databases or file systems. Effectively being able to migrate a three-tier application from your on-premises infrastructure while virtualizing that and being able to move it and mount it and recover it into a cloud of your choosing, such as Oracle, AWS, or Azure, certainly. So to move into the use case around application agility, and one of the problems that I see almost every day in the market is that developers and testers in the enterprise are dealing with commonly low fidelity data, or better known as subsets. So if you look at the diagram I've got on the presentation deck here, in the development, build and integration test environments, it's quite common for those consumers of data to have a subset, or let's say at like a 10% of what the true working data set is. And that's where they're developing and writing their code on, because it's very expensive for those users to consume full production copies, certainly in the enterprise where we're talking about terabytes of data sets. But effectively what happens is, as they come to the end of developing some code, checking it out and getting ready to go to UAT, they then start to test that code on a full production data set, and this is where a lot of bugs start to creep in. And it becomes a significant challenge. So much so that a recent survey that I happened to find on the interwebs just earlier this week was that a number of developers were questioned on, would you like the ability to test against realistic data, or AKA production data, or masked and scrubbed data, during the early phases of your development? And as you can see with the results there, the answer is a resounding yes. And the reality is they commonly do not get access to this data in a frequency of time that suits them. So really what they're trying to do is help themselves. And so here's the challenges with the traditional way we've managed infrastructure and applications today, is that there's four main challenges that an enterprise or an operations team have to consider. So there's the speed of data and the refresh of that data to non-production environments, the quality of that data. Are you looking at a full production data set, or are you dealing with a subset? Or is the data set been created from scratch and it's really not even relevant to what production data looks like? Very importantly, there's the security of giving your non-production teams access to a production data set and the risks that brings to a large enterprise. So you need to be able to control it and restrict who can access the data, and or mask and scrub that data for those users that need it. And last but not least, doing this with a low amount of cost is a significant challenge. So I guess my challenge I put to most enterprises and operations teams are pick 2 of the 4 and be happy with that. Unless you bring in Actifio, and then in which case we can help you with all 4. And as one of the other questions that I pulled out of this recent survey talked about, again, to these developers, tell me about what are the challenges you have when you're testing with real data sets. Is it keeping data up to date in terms of giving me yesterday's copy to test my code against? Is it about the movement of data, the storage you consume, or the time it takes to move a large data set? Is it about keeping track of all those changes and all those different copies that exist, and so on and so forth? But this problem exists in your enterprise today, and it's certainly something that the Actifio product helps with. So, what if, as a solution, we could give all these non-production teams access to production data with a self-service call? Now, most of these teams are moving down the path of either containers, DevOps, a Chef Puppet, Ansible, all these kind of great tools to help build their environments and run their tests. But what they tend to be lacking is moving the actual real production data into those environments so that they can get some good outputs from their tests. And really what Actifio does is help our customers by accelerating that development lifecycle by giving them the real data set. And effectively, a 20 terabyte database can be provisioned to 5 people for the cost of 1 megabyte as the starting point per consumer of data. So no longer do teams need to share a single data set or get scheduled access to a data set that's key to the business. They can start to spawn their own copies using their own RESTful API calls, PowerShell, CLI, or whatever tools they're using today to help build their environments. We're effectively an API call away and presenting real data into those environments for them to consume. And so that's really the value prop. And then what we end up with is that the developers have less excuse for writing poor code, which is a win for the enterprise and business alone. But effectively, they each end up with their own copies, and they're getting a lot more, I guess, credibility and ability to test data very, very quickly with I guess, a good data set as opposed to a subset. So effectively, then the net effect is high quality releases of applications, on time or a lot closer to what was promised in the initial go live. So now I'm going to show you a demo, and I'm going to hope that the 3-finger swipe works for me. Fantastic, here we go. So this is a demo I'm doing here, and effectively the demo I'm going to emulate here is a 1 terabyte SQL database. Would be large for some, but not large for some of our customers that have databases in the 50 to 100 terabyte scale. But I just want to show you the real-time flow of a user that wants access to data and leveraging the PowerShell integration that we have with our product. So just going to hit go. I've effectively already logged into the Actifio appliance. I'm now basically saying I want to find a unique identifier for a database that I know exists on a host. That host happens to be Sidwin SQL 2, and the application or the database is called Fabrics. So I'm just saying, hey, tell me what the unique identifier is, and it's 13142. The next line I've got here effectively is a string that says, hey, Actifio, I want to mount and access that data. I want to recover the database, roll the logs forward to the most recent point in time, stand it up on my own non-production SQL server, and give it a friendly label so that I know that it's my database and I can expire it at will. The last thing I also do is bring that database online. So now I'm moving into, I've already hit the go button, that task is underway, it's triggering through the background. I'm showing you the target SQL server where I'm going to mount this SQL database. Effectively the database is going to be called, I think it's Dev Team 1 Fabrics. I'm going to refresh here on the Actifio console just to see that the job's underway. Now because we're not moving and copying a 1 terabyte file, effectively we're just doing a storage snapshot underneath and then getting that volume ready to present over a fiber channel or Ethernet iSCSI protocol to the host in question. And then we take it one step further by talking to SQL, bringing that forward. The other thing I'm showing you here in the interface as the demo gets ahead of me is effectively how you would do this through the GUI interface as a manual call. Effectively I'm saying, hey, I want to mount access this database, present it to this host, give it a friendly label for my team so that we know what we're doing. The next thing you'll see is I'm saying, yes, please create that database from this point in time, and I'll click on the log roll forward capability, and effectively this rolls the logs forward, whether it be SQL or Oracle or other data sets. Give the database a name, most importantly. Generally this should be a unique name for your database. And effectively the next comment there, I'm going to recover the database. So for those who are familiar with SQL, there is two options, recovery or no recovery. You can select not for us to recover the database, which means a DBA can roll the logs forward himself and move it to whatever point in time he desires. Else, if you really know what you want to do, you can allow us to bring it online for you. Next thing is the advanced options. If you're presenting this to a non-production domain, then you may need to put in some different username credentials for either SQL or an Active Directory type login. So that's what it looks like in the GUI, and effectively the run that I was doing there in the background was all triggered through a CLI option instead for the same data set. So that's about 49%, and we're at the point of where Actifio is going to mount the file system volume into the target host, and effectively this is an NTFS volume that's read-write. I'm showing you the volume here with all the transaction logs for SQL database roll forward recovery. So that's the first volume we present. Again, I'm refreshing here to show you that the database still doesn't exist. We're looking for a database called dev1 team. Now all the drives are there for the MDF, the LDF and the T-logs, and the database exists and the transaction logs have been rolled forward, the database has been brought online. This database is effectively, as you can see there, 1.1 terabytes in size, 1.07. Give or take, depending on whether you're talking file system or application size. And here's the file system itself. On disk, it's 1.1 terabytes. Behind the scenes in Actifio, this effectively is consuming no more than 1 megabyte of disk space for the starting point. As we roll the logs forward, that would produce a rate of change on that 1 meg disk. So now we're coming to the end of that task. The task from go to woe takes about 4 minutes. That will change based on the amount of logs and rate of change of roll forward, but effectively it's generally a very quick piece of work to do. So the tasks are now at about 99%. We're literally almost at the end, and as far as that DevOps team is concerned, they now have access to their production data set. They can start to test their code. Via Actifio, we could allow them, or Puppet or Chef, they could be kicking off the next part of their build, and the job is complete. So the next thing I'm doing here is basically just saying to the Actifio appliance, please tell me about all the other mounted databases that you have running. And the line item to look at here is the consumed size. I'm 150 meg for a 1 terabyte database. So it's extremely efficient to the disk, also to the time, which drastically helps in these teams to self-serve. I didn't need to make a call to my infrastructure team to provision some storage, a database backup restore team to restore the database, a DBA to stand it up. I literally gave full self-service access to a DevOps team to consume data that was recent. So that's pretty much the end of the demo there. And if you have any questions or would like to have a chat with Actifio at any time, I'll be more than happy to take a call or email or hit me up on Twitter. So thanks very much for your time, and we're done.